They tried to trap the brown bomber with fine print and false promises. They believed a simple contract would make the world champion their property. They were wrong. When Bumpy Johnson walked into that office on August 14, 1940, he wasn't carrying a contract. He was carrying his razor. What he did to those three mobsters made them rip up the paperwork and flee Harlem forever. August 14, 1940, Harlem, New York. Joe Louis was 26 years old and the most famous black man in America, the heavyweight champion of the world, the Brown Bomber, the man who knocked out Max Schmeling in front of 70,000 people and proved that black excellence could not be denied. In the ring, Joe Louis was unstoppable. Outside the ring, he was a target. Joe had a problem common to many successful black men in 1940. He was making money, but didn't know how to keep it. Boxing purses came fast $100,000 for a title defense and disappeared even faster. Taxes, family, hangers-on, bad advice. Joe was getting rich and going broke at the same time. The Italian mob saw their chance. That August afternoon, Joe sat in a small office on 125th Street. Not a gym, not a training facility, just a cramped room with peeling paint and a single desk. Across from him sat three men in expensive suits. Vincent Gallo, mid-50s, slick hair, a smile that promised things it never intended to deliver. Frank the Fixer Marino, thick-necked and quiet, the muscle pretending to be a businessman. And Anthony DiNapoli, younger, restless, the one who handled the paperwork. They weren't boxing promoters. They were investment advisors. On the desk between them lay a contract. 15 pages of small print and a proposal that made Joe's eyes widen. The Cotton Club investment opportunity. "Joe," Gallo said, his voice smooth as honey, "you're making great money now. But what happens when you retire? When the punches stop, you need to think about your future." He slid a brochure across the desk. Glossy photos of the Cotton Club, Harlem's most famous nightclub. Elegant, expensive, profitable. We're expanding. 3 new locations: Harlem, the Bronx, Brooklyn. We need investors. Smart investors. People with name recognition. Frank leaned in. "You put in $50,000. In 2 years, we triple it. 150,000. Guaranteed. Plus 10% ownership in all 3 clubs. Your name on the door. Joe Louis' Cotton Club." Imagine that. Joe could imagine it. His name in lights. Walking into his own club. The applause. Security for his mother, his family, his future. What Joe couldn't see was the trap. The contract looked legitimate, formal language, corporate structure, revenue projections. But buried in the fine print, page 11, section 7, subsection C, was the truth. Joe's $50,000 would be placed into an investment pool, fully controlled by Gallo and his partners. The guaranteed returns depended on performance metrics that would never be met. The 10% ownership was in a shell company that didn't actually own the clubs. And if Joe tried to withdraw, he would owe $100,000 in early exit penalties. It was a classic mob scam. They'd used it on boxers, musicians, athletes. Put the money in, never get it back. End up owing more than they started with. Joe Louis, brilliant in the ring and naive outside it, saw none of this. "I don't know," Joe said slowly. $50,000 is a lot of money. That's almost everything I have saved. Maybe I should talk to my manager." "Your manager doesn't understand investments," DiNapoli jumped in. "This is high-level business. You need specialists, people who know Harlem, who know nightclubs, who know how to make money work." "And besides," Gallo added, "this opportunity closes tomorrow. We've got other investors lined up. Sugar Ray Robinson, some musicians. You walk away, now it's gone." It was a lie. There were no other investors. The trap had been built specifically for Joe Louis. Joe reached for the pen. That was when the door opened. Bumpy Johnson didn't knock or announce himself. He walked in like he owned the place, which, in every way that mattered, he did. At 35 years old, Bumpy was Harlem's undisputed king. 3 years out of Sing Sing, he had taken over the numbers racket, built his protection network, and made it clear to every Italian gangster in New York that Harlem belonged to him. He wore a charcoal three-piece suit, white shirt, black tie, and tucked into his waistband was the straight razor that had carved his reputation into Harlem streets. Bumpy's eyes moved from Joe Louis' pen in hand to the 3 Italians. His face didn't change. It didn't need to. "Joe," Bumpy said calmly, "put the pen down." Joe looked up, confused. "Bumpy, I'm in a meeting. I know what you're in." "Put the pen down." Joe set the pen on the desk. Gallo forced a smile. "Mr. Johnson, this is a private business meeting. We're discussing—" "I know what you're discussing," Bumpy said. "You're discussing how to steal $50,000 from Joe Louis while making him think it's an investment." He walked to the desk, picked up the contract, and flipped through it. He didn't read every word. He didn't need to. He'd seen the scam before. Different names, same trap. Bumpy tossed the contract back onto the desk. The Cotton Club investment opportunity. He looked at Gallo. "That's creative. I'll give you that. Make a man feel like he's buying into something prestigious. Something with his name on it." He turned to Joe. "Joe, let me ask you something. You ever been inside the Cotton Club?" Joe shook his head. "No, they don't." He stopped, realizing what he was about to say. "They don't let black people in," Bumpy finished. "Not as customers, only as performers. And you're telling me these 3 want to make you a partner in a club that won't even let you through the front door?" Joe's expression changed. The excitement drained from his face. Gallo tried to recover. "That's the old Cotton Club. The new locations will be integrated." "Huh?" Bumpy's voice cut like his razor. "There is no expansion. There are no new locations. There's just a fake investment scheme designed to rob Joe Louis blind." He picked up the contract again and flipped to page 11. Section 7, subsection C, investment pool, subject to partner discretion. He looked up. Translation: "We take your money and do whatever we want with it. Performance-based returns." He tapped the page. Translation: "You'll never see a dime. Early withdrawal penalty." Another tap. Translation: "If you try to get your money back, you owe us double." Bumpy looked at the 3 men. "This isn't an investment. It's a trap. And you walked into Harlem thinking Joe Louis was stupid enough to fall for it, right?" Frank Marino's jaw tightened. "Look, Johnson, we're legitimate businessmen. We're offering a real opportunity." Bumpy pulled out his razor. Not fast, not threatening. Slow and deliberate. He placed it on the desk, still sheathed beside the glossy Cotton Club brochure. The room went silent. "Let me tell you what's legitimate," Bumpy said quietly. "Joe Louis is Harlem's champion. 2 years ago, he knocked out Hitler's favorite fighter and made every black person in America stand taller. He's not just a boxer. He's a symbol. He met each man's eyes. And you walked in here thinking you could turn him into your victim." Denopoli tried to speak. "We're just offering business. You're offering theft with paperwork." Psh! Bumpy slid the razor from its sheath. The blade caught the light. "Here's my counteroffer. You tear up that contract right now in front of me. Then you walk out of Harlem and never approach Joe Louis again. Not with investments. Not with opportunities. Not even to say hello." Gallo's composure cracked. "We can't just. We have connections. We work with people." "I don't care who you work with," Bumpy said. "In Harlem, I am the connection. And Joe Louis is under my protection." He held up the razor. "You know what this is for? It's not for cutting paper. It's for cutting people who forget where they are. People who think they can walk into my neighborhood and rob my people." His voice dropped to a whisper. "So here's what happens next. Either you tear up that contract or I use this razor to carve thief on your foreheads. Then I make sure every gangster, every businessman, every hustler from here to Chicago knows you tried to steal from Joe Louis." He let the silence stretch. "You'll never work again. Nobody will trust you. And every time you look in the mirror, you'll see the word I carved into your face, reminding you of the day you tried to rob Harlem's champion." A dark stain spread across Dinopoli's pants. Frank's hands shook. Gallo had gone pale. "We'll tear it up," Gallo stammered. "We'll tear it up right now." Smart choice. Bumpy watched as Gallo picked up the contract with trembling hands and began ripping it apart, page by page. 15 pages, reduced to confetti. When it was done, Bumpy turned to Joe. "Joe, these gentlemen are leaving. You're coming with me." Outside, on 125th Street, Joe Louis finally found his voice. "Bumpy, how did you know? How did you even know I was there?" "Word travels in Harlem," Bumpy said. "Someone saw you walk into that office with 3 Italians in suits. That got back to me in about 10 minutes. They walked down the street, Bumpy's presence making people nod respectfully and step aside. I almost signed it," Joe said quietly. "I thought it was real. I thought I was being smart, investing in my future." Bumpy stopped walking. "Joe, you're the best fighter in the world, but the world outside the ring is more dangerous than anything you face inside it. There are more men trying to rob you with contracts than there are trying to knock you out with punches." He put a hand on Joe's shoulder. "You want to invest? Fine, but you get your own lawyer, not theirs. Someone who works for you. Someone who reads every word and tells you the truth. You don't sign anything unless you understand every sentence. And if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is," Joe finished. "Exactly, okay?" They started walking again. "And Joe, remember this. You're not just Joe Louis the boxer. You're Joe Louis the symbol. Every black kid in America looks at you and sees possibility. That means you've got a responsibility to stay smart, stay free, stay in control." Joe nodded. "Why'd you help me, Bumpy?" "You didn't have to." "Yes, I did," Bumpy said. "Because when you knocked out Schmeling, I felt it too. When you stand in that ring representing us, you're representing me. And I protect what's mine." Bumpy smiled slightly. "Besides, Joe, I'm a criminal. I break laws. I hurt people. I do things most men won't do. But you know what I don't do? I don't steal for my own. I don't trap heroes. I don't turn symbols into victims." He looked at Joe. "Those 3 Italians. They're worse than I'll ever be. At least I'm honest about what I am." Vincent Gallo, Frank Marino, and Anthony Dinopoli left Harlem that afternoon and never returned. Word spread through New York's underworld. Joe Louis was untouchable. Bumpy Johnson had drawn a line. Joe Louis went on to defend his heavyweight title 25 times over the next decade. He made millions. And yes, he faced financial trouble later in life, bad investments, the IRS, the problems that plagued many athletes. But he never fell for a scam again, because Bumpy Johnson had taught him to read the fine print. The fine print. Years later, in 1962, a reporter asked Joe, "You had a long career. A lot of people tried to take advantage of you. How did you stay smart?" Joe smiled. "I had a friend who looked out for me when I didn't even know I needed it." "Who was this friend?" "If you're from Harlem, you know his name. If you're not, it doesn't matter. What matters is he taught me that being strong in the ring isn't enough. You have to be smart outside it too." In 1981, Joe Louis died. At his funeral, a letter was discovered written years earlier and meant to be opened only after his death. It was addressed to Bumpy Johnson. "You saved me from thieves in suits. You taught me that not every smile is friendly and not every opportunity is real. You showed me that strength isn't just about hitting, it's about knowing when to walk away. I never properly thanked you, so I'm thanking you now. You weren't just the king of Harlem. You were my protector, and I owed you everything. Bumpy never saw that letter. He died in 1968. But those who knew both men understood what that August day in 1940 was really about. It wasn't about a contract. It wasn't about $50,000. It was about a principle. Harlem protects its own. Heroes don't get robbed on our watch. And anyone who tries learns the hard way, one razor cut at a time. If this story of protection, wisdom, and power moved you, hit subscribe and press like. Share it with someone who needs to understand that the biggest threats don't come from fists. They come from contracts and false promises. Leave a comment. Have you ever nearly fallen for something that seemed too good to be true? Let's keep these untold stories alive. Bumpy Johnson protected Harlem's legends, and their stories deserve to be remembered.